The British-Irish Mirror newspaper published a report in which it talked about the jewelry and possessions of the late Queen Elizabeth II and answered a question that was frequently repeated after her death: who will inherit it? According to the Sunday Times list of the UK's richest people, the Queen's net worth was £370 million in 2021. Although Queen Elizabeth was considered one of the richest women in the world, there is no requirement for her to disclose her private finances. The Queen received 15% of the profits from the Crown Estate's portfolio. It is a huge portfolio that includes some land and real estate belonging to the royal family. The Queen also had her own investments, including private art and stamp collections, racehorses, a portfolio of stocks, and the Sandringham and Balmoral estates. Much of her property is kept in a trust rather than being part of the Queen's private collection, so her extensive collection of jewelry, including crown jewels, tiaras, and brooches, will remain in that box. The Queen also has a private collection of jewelry, which is likely to pass on to members of the Windsor family, starting with King Charles. King Charles will be given access to gems, whether those owned by trust or the private collection, while Kate, Princess of Wales, is also believed to be receiving some pieces from the Queen's collection. The Queen's private jewelry collection includes nearly 300 pieces, included 98 brooches, 46 necklaces, 34 pairs of earrings, 15 rings, and 14 watches. When not worn, it is kept in the Queen's Gallery at Buckingham Palace. According to the International Business Times, before her death, Elizabeth II requested a change of will, and Meghan Markle and her daughter Liberty were excluded, as the mentioned jewels would be handed over to Kate Middleton and her daughter Charlotte. Consequently, Meghan and Liberty will not be the beneficiaries of the jewels, which are valued at around $110 million. Kate Middleton, Meghan Markle, Queen will. The late Queen's will is supposed to be kept secret, just as her husband, Prince Philip's will. Despite this, the international press highlighted, first of all, her jewelry. Experts claim that such jewelry, like the Great Scarf of Africa, is very valuable. What will happen to the Queen's money and real estate? Most of Queen Elizabeth's fortunes will pass to her son, King Charles III, who will benefit from ownership of the crown. It is possible that the Queen left a will to choose how to divide her personal fortune. If she chooses to leave all her money to Charles, the latter will receive it without having to pay the inheritance transfer tax. As for the properties in Balmoral in Scotland and Sandringham in Norfolk, which have been in the royal family possession for decades, they are likely to have also passed to the new king. What will happen to the Queen's dogs? The British Queen owned about 13 corgis during her entire reign. Days after her death, the late Queen Elizabeth II's dogs are said to pass to the Duke and Duchess of York, Andrew and Sarah. Although there is no requirement for British monarchs to disclose their private financial resources, according to information published by the Sunday Times newspaper, according to Al Hurra channel, Elizabeth II's personal fortune amounted to £370 million in 2022, an increase of £5 million over the previous year. In terms of real property, the state owns Buckingham Palace, the royal residence in London, and Windsor Castle, located about 40 kilometers west of the capital. But Balmoral Palace, the royal family's summer resort, and Sandringham Palace, where the royal family traditionally celebrates the end of the year holidays, were owned by the Queen and will be passed on to Charles. The Queen also owns a large portfolio of stocks and collection of royal stamps valued about £100 million, according to the compilers of the 2021 Rich List in the Times newspaper. The late Queen's fortune will be added to Charles' personal fortune, which is estimated at $100 million, equivalent to about £87 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. The famous crown jewels, valued at around £3 billion, symbolically belong to the Queen and are therefore automatically passed on to her successor. Prince Philip, Elizabeth's husband, left a more modest inheritance of £30 million upon his death in April 2021, according to Celebrity Net Worth. He especially owned a collection of paintings and 3,000 works of art, most of which were bequeathed to friends and family. Duchy of Lancaster. With his accession to the British throne, King Charles III inherits the Duchy of Lancaster, which has been owned by the royal family since the Middle Ages and which during the tax year ended last March generated £24 million of private income earmarked for the British monarch. The Lancaster money belongs to the monarch, the king or the queen, by virtue of his position, says David McClure, author of a book on royal finance. On the other hand, Charles loses the Duchy of Cornwall, which goes to the king's oldest son and generates around £21 million a year. McClure explains that his duchy belongs directly to Prince William. Charles also benefits from an annual grant called the Sovereign Grant from the public treasury, set at 15% of the proceeds of the inheritance of the crown, and includes especially real estate and also a huge wind farm, and its revenues have been poured into the public treasury since an act of 1760. The Sovereign Grant makes it possible to finance expenditure related to official activities to represent the king or members of his family. In particular, the salaries of staff, maintenance and cleaning of palaces, official trips as well as receptions. Royal succession. Most of the Queen's fortune is transferred to Charles without the inheritance tax, thanks to an exemption dating back to 1993 aimed at preventing the royal inheritance from being squandered in the event of the death of more than one king in a short time. After the transfer tax was 40% on each inheritance. The Treasury further explained that private assets such as Sandringham and Plummer have both official and private uses, adding that the monarchy must also enjoy a degree of financial independence from the existing government. But this advantage is limited to transfers between the British monarch and his successor. David McClure asserted that it is possible that the Queen has left a will and that small amounts will go to a family member, but not the bulk of the wealth which will go to Charles, according to AFP. Elizabeth's wealth sources. There is no doubt that her collection of jewelry and vast real estate is impressive, but the wealth of Queen Elizabeth II is not measured by that of other royals. Her fortune is estimated at £370 million, more than $420 million, and therefore it wasn't enough to give her a place on the Sunday Times list of the 250 richest people in the United Kingdom in 2022, and her wealth appears to be very small compared to those of other royals.